On 7's Gold Coast News, breaking news, the LNP makes a major backflip deciding to keep schoolies pill testing. The heartbroken family of a Burleigh Heads assault victim staring down their first Christmas without him. 2 teenagers threatened with a knife the moments after a terrifying Mermaid Waters home invasion on camera. Yatla now leading in the Aussie space race, a local company cleared to launch rockets. Plus, Melbourne didn't get all the fun today. Coasters proving this race really did stop the nation.
Live from the Gold Coast, 7 News with Amanda Abate.
Good evening. We start with breaking news tonight. The newly elected LNP government has made the shock decision to allow pill testing at schoolies next week. Sam Payne is live with the details. Sam, this is a major backflip.
Yeah, they're going ahead with pill testing even though they vowed to scrap it, Amanda. In a statement that was just sent to 7 News, a spokesperson for the Health Minister wrote, "Our position remains that there is no safe way to take drugs and pill testing sends the wrong message. After taking advice so close to the event, the only short-term option is for the Department of Health to honour the contract for this year's event." Now, this is a dramatic contrast to how the LNP were talking about the topic before the election. At the time, MP Jared Blay said it wasn't going to happen. Nonetheless, the $80,000 pop-up clinic will be going ahead for the first time this schoolies. Amanda?
Payne. Well, it was an emotional, difficult day for Cameron Deuce's loved ones, facing court for the first time to hear the case of the teenager accused of delivering the strike that killed the 22-year-old. Mel Whiteman joins me now. Mel, you spoke to Cameron's parents.
I did, Amanda. Their heartbreak was clear as they left court, but they explained to me that they were there for their son to keep his memory alive. Now, Cameron died after he was allegedly attacked during a night out at Burleigh Heads in September. 18-year-old Austin Lewis Ballard is accused of kicking Cameron and was charged with unlawful striking, causing death.
We'll be having our first Christmas without our son, while the alleged coward puncher will be at home celebrating with his family. This is the first step in a long process that we're going to have to deal with, and we have no other option just to be here for Cameron.
There's no winners and losers in cases like these, unfortunately. It's just sad set of circumstances for everyone. My client will obviously just go through the court process.
Today was the first mention in court since Ballard was granted bail. A lawyer appeared for him and requested a brief of evidence. His barrister previously told 7 News he would be fighting the charge. The case will return to court in January.
Okay, very sad. Thank you for the update, Mel. A Gold Coast police officer is about to return to work 9 months after being stood down. An internal investigation was launched after Senior Sergeant Aaron Ottaway authorised officers to ram a stolen car, allegedly being driven by teenagers.
What the investigation has found is that everything he did was justified. It's lawful and it was in line with QPS policy. 8 months that very qualified district duty officer was not out on the street protecting the Queensland community.
Senior Sergeant Ottaway will be back on duty this Friday. Police are searching for 3 culprits after a home invasion on the Gold Coast this morning. Liam Bland has all of the details. Liam, they threatened the residents with a knife.
Yeah, Amanda, demanding car keys, wallets and jewellery. This camera footage captured the moment the perpetrators fled this morning in a grey Nissan that they'd just stolen, and also the car that they arrived in, residents chasing after that car. It's understood the thugs broke in through the front door just after 2 a.m. and entered the rooms of a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old boy, threatening both of them with a knife and demanding they hand over their possessions. Forensics officers were at the Mermaid Waters property this morning looking for fingerprints. That car that was stolen was later found abandoned at Crestmead, but Amanda, at this stage, no arrests have been made.
Okay, Liam Bland reporting there from Surface. Well, Gold Coast engineers are a step closer to sending people into space. The local space launch company has been given the green light to fire Australia's first commercial orbital rocket into the unknown.
With eyes glued to screens at a restricted site in our state's north, this rocket is being readied for a mission that's out of this world. Bracing to blast off near Bowen, it was built on the Gold Coast. Soon, it'll be sent into orbit.
We're absolutely over the moon.
The rocket won't travel quite that far, but will be launched above Earth. Gilmore Space Technologies has been granted the country's first orbital launch permit by the Australian Space Agency.
We haven't done anything like this in this country since 1972, so over 50 years it's been since we've done anything of this scale with rockets and rocket launches out of this country.
The company plans to fire its 25-metre Eris rocket sometime in the coming weeks.
But I think we're on the track as it stands right now to be able to have a shot before Christmas.
To infinity and beyond, isn't it? The sky is literally the limit in this state.
On the Gold Coast, you know, you're allowed to dream and you're allowed to dream big.
It's taken years of testing to get to this point. The business, with humble beginnings in Pimpama, is now the largest space manufacturer in Australia. And Gilmore Space is expanding.
Your trades all the way through to engineers and even your commercial, legal, finance team, we need it all.
Meaning you don't have to be a rocket scientist to help shoot for the stars. Liam Bland, 7 News.
One of the Gold Coast's most controversial projects could be fast-tracked following a meeting between our mayor and the state's new tourism minister. Also, the Minister for Environment, Andrew Powell, met with Tom Tate today to discuss plans for a cableway in the Hinterland.
The cableway is exactly the type of project that we want to work with the City of the Gold Coast and other proponents around the state to deliver. I've got to look back and find over the process and find out what those roadblocks have been. Look at the red and the green tape that have held up projects like the cableway.
City leaders are set to vote on a short list of 5 key tourism projects, including the cableway, next month. Glamping opportunities and the revitalisation of tipplers at South Stradbroke Island are among the other proposals councillors could endorse. Hats were high and drinks were flowing freely on the Gold Coast as all eyes turned to the Melbourne Cup. Now is the time for bosses to look away, with many workers missing in action. But we found them celebrating at sold-out events. A long way from Flemington, a long wait for drinks. No wonder they were double parked, quadruple parked at the Gold Coast Turf Club. This is how the race stopped the Gold Coast. Under a scorching sun, champagne goblet in hand.
You can have a Chico roll or a lobster roll, so it just depends on where you're going.
When it came to picking a winner.
As in horses? Don't ask me, I've got no idea.
It was even harder to pick one off the field. The fashionistas brought their A game. The only sure thing was a lot of colour. Our winner proving blue and green can be seen.
High stakes today, a lot of contemporary racewear, which I obviously love.
If you were to put a bet on it, the biggest winner today was the hospitality industry, with events sold out across the Gold Coast.
The champagne was flowing at the Star, which hosted more than a dozen parties. A very long lunch was served at 19 freshly shucked oysters, free-flowing champagne. A lot of people MIA from work.
So I guess this is a sick day?
Yes. Annual leave, long service.
Cheers to that. A lot of preparation goes into today, including homemade headpieces.
So it's like baking a cake. You give the ingredients and say, this is the cake that I want, and this is how it came out.
But by 2 p.m, all eyes were on the big screens. Not too many people backed the roughie in the main race, but we found one.
I'm excited. First win of the day, and we beat the boys.
What are you going to spend the money on?
I'll probably champagne for the girls.
Paying $101 to win, that is a lot of champagne. What a day. Well, now to Tony Auden. Tony, we have more storms around this afternoon.
Yes, Amanda, but the good news this time is it looks like the Gold Coast will miss the worst of it. Let's jump to the radar, and like we had on Thursday last week, those biggest cells building over northern New South Wales and tracking northeast. But at the moment, this main concern here is these cells here, which are tracking for areas between Ipswich and Brisbane. Across the Gold Coast, we're just getting some lighter showery activity, maybe some thundery rain for the next hour or two, and not too much building in behind it. As we jump to the current warnings, we can see that main threat in red here extending further north, where we do have that risk of hail, wind and rain, but I don't think we'll see anything too nasty on the coast. Having said that, we are expecting more heat and more storms in coming days. Amanda, I'll be back soon with the forecast.
All right, thank you, Tony. Well, firefighters think they've worked out what caused this Yatala inferno. We'll have the details after the break. Plus, a petition to shut down a key Gold Coast music venue stopped in its tracks. And a rescue tube that could save a life on our beaches. We have the exclusive details next. Fire investigators spent this morning searching through the burnt-out remains of trucks and storage containers ravaged by flames at Yatala yesterday. It's understood solar panels and bags of concrete were inside the vehicles consumed by the inferno at the industrial area. Workers from a nearby business heard tyres popping and spotted smoke before raising the alarm. Investigators say the flames may have been sparked from a solar panel. The council has struck down a petition to stop live music events on the southern lawn of Broadwater Parklands. There were 14 signatories on the petition saying the space is too close to residential areas and too loud. In its latest meeting, the council did not support the request, saying the venue is ideal for live events because it's on the water, close to public transport and accommodation. A new rescue tube is being trialled at one of the Gold Coast's most popular beaches. It's the first to be rolled out across the state, and knowing how to use it could save a life.
It's simple.
Put that over your head, under your arm, like that.
And just makes sense.
A rescue tube in a box, it will save a life.
The first in the state being trialled at Tullabudgera Creek.
It is a very busy location, and with a lot of currents, we get a lot of calls where paddleboarders or swimmers get swept out.
The rescue tube is there for when lifeguards aren't on patrol.
Or if they're out helping someone else and I see someone struggling, I think it's a great way to put the community involved.
It will be rolled out in other areas very soon because there is a lot of locations in Queensland where there are no lifesavers or lifeguards.
A tool to help save someone in trouble and keep the rescuer afloat.
Anyone can use it, so it's going to save a lot of lives here.
Definitely give it a go if it was going to save someone's life, 100%. Instead of just going out by yourself and trying to help someone, you're going to be a lot safer, and so is the person that you're saving.
Lifeguards warn only strong swimmers should use it, and they should call 000 before diving in.
We still want people to swim between those flags and between patrol times. Just because this rescue equipment is there, it doesn't mean it's safe, because someone still has to use this gear and equipment or see you.
But when they do, this could make all the difference. Mel Whiteman, 7 News.
Okay, what a great idea. Well, Sally Pearson's here now with Sports. Sal, today it was all about Flemington.
Yes, it was, and shocking the bookies, Amanda. Hello, everyone. Underdog Knights choice taking the win by a nose. And a young tennis ace wins her first professional title.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, it's voting day in the US. Join us for this historic election day as America heads to the polls.
Plus, British beauty icon Trinny Woodall live, her new magic formula for turning back the clock.
See you in the morning, Gold Coast.
In 7 News, Queenslanders take home the Melbourne Cup. Celebrations from Flemington to the Sunshine State. The southeast sizzles through a heatwave, plus Tony Auden's storm forecast. Fears of violence on the eve of the US election. We're live to Washington and the unusual venue to pop the big question. 7 News at 6.
The race that stops the nation did not disappoint this year, with underdog Knight's Choice taking out the coveted Melbourne Cup in a photo finish victory. The Australian-bred horse came out of nowhere in the final leg to defeat Warp Speed, shocking everyone, even the bookies, who had it at $101 odds.
Knight's Choice, Warp Speed, they hit the line. It's a photo finish.
We'll have more on the Flemington race in the news at 6. 16-year-old Gold Coast tennis star Emerson Jones has won her first ever professional title on the ITF World Tennis Tour at W75 Sydney. She entered the tournament as a wild card, defeating Perth's Taylor Preston in 2 straight sets, the second going to a tiebreaker. Jones is now the junior world #1 and is in pole position to clinch the much coveted year-end #1 spot in the ITF World Tennis Tour girls rankings and be named an ITF World Champion. Gold Coast Suns forward Tara Bahana has been fined $250 for a striking offence on North Melbourne's Emma King. The incident in the third quarter of the AFLW match wasn't pulled up by umpires at the time. Bahana accepted the early plea and is now preparing for next season. Well, Day 5 of the Pan Pacific Masters proved to be another stunner today. One of the Gold Coast's most popular sports, beach volleyball, was underway at Kurrawa.
The whole of the Gold Coast is being used. I think there's only one electorate that's not being used from a competition venue, and there's people spread out right across the Gold Coast.
The Pan Pac Masters is expected to bring in $25 million to the local economy, and although more than 10 sports are over now, there's plenty more to come, with track and field events kicking off tomorrow. One sport that I'll be keeping my eye on, Amanda.
It's huge, isn't it?
It certainly is.
In the Olympics.
Yes.
Impressive. All right, thanks, Al. Coming up after the break, Tony will have all of your weather details. Max Butcher is here now with the top stories coming up soon in the news at 6.
Hello, Amanda. Just ahead, all the action from a big day of horse racing at Randwick and Flemington. Interest rates on hold, while we may have to wait until next year for a cut. Tributes for a 12-year-old schoolgirl, the victim of relentless online bullying. A marathon effort to close out the US election campaign. We're live to Washington. The risky moves putting Queensland drivers in danger. And a special 7 News investigation, the black market groceries you can buy on the side of the road. Details at 6.
Okay, thanks, Max. Weather now. Tony, how long will this heat last?
Amanda, we'll have to be patient for a cooler change. There are a few more steamy days and nights on the way. We should really start to notice a cooler change into next week. Now, first, today, a muggy night on 20 degrees at the Seaway before pushing up to an early maximum of 31 degrees before midday. That's the kind of day that shows just how hot inland parts of the coast get, jumping up pretty rapidly to 35 degrees in Narang and 34 in Robina. A few storms around today, though the worst is staying away from the coast at the moment. The main concern is this cell headed up to areas between Logan and Brisbane with some lighter showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder in this activity on the coast and not too much in behind it. Now onto the forecast chart. The trough triggering today's storms weakens out tomorrow, so we have less vigorous storms, a little bit of activity on the ranges. Otherwise, northerly winds, so the heat remains. Now, checking today's beaches, and spring's normal run of great beach days but average surf has continued today. This bloke making the most of what was there. Still, there are much worse places to be. No improvement tomorrow. Tiny wind slop. Maybe go for a walk or dip or get some chores done instead. Our boaties, we're looking at northerly winds between 15 and 20 knots most of the day, bumping up to 25 knots early and late in the day. So across the coast tomorrow, mostly sunny and staying hot. We might just see a late shower or storm on the Hinterland. I've put that on Canungra here. Up to 34 degrees there. Robina, 19 overnight, tracking for 33. A little bit cooler on the beaches, 29 for Burleigh Heads and also Coolangatta. In the city, we're looking at those mostly sunny skies as well. 19 tonight, up to that top of 30 degrees. That's a good 2 or 3 degrees above the average for this time of year. And that UV still up at very high. Well worth keeping the sunscreen handy, rather. Now, looking ahead. Hot and dry Thursday, storms return on Friday and again on Sunday. Then eventually we'll start to get a cooler change into the early parts of next week. A mix of showers, there could be some decent rainfall in there and eventually cooling down. But Amanda, that heat will hang around. Keep the fluids up and don't forget to keep your pets cool as well.
Yeah, that's right. They definitely feel it, don't they? All right. Thank you, Tony, and thanks for joining us this evening. We will be back with more Gold Coast news tomorrow at 5:30, but stay with us. The news at 6 is starting now. From the team, have a great night.